Hello everyone, and welcome back to How Many More Are There? Where today, we're going to be handling the weapons of Season 21 a little differently. Instead of going through each weapon individually and rattling off a bunch of god rolls on guns that may or may not even be desirable, I thought it would be better to tell you what guns are even worth bothering with in the first place, and or what order I would be bothering picking up crafted weapons if you're the kind of person who likes to Pokemon their way through the game. There are close to like 30 guns across multiple activities. I don't want to make 6 weapon roll videos, so you're going to get 6 videos worth of information in one. So if you could watch this video 6 times, that'd be great. Last Wish is in its own video, so we're not really going to talk about Last Wish guns in this one. And because I know not everyone here is a veteran player, I am going to list every single weapon roll for every gun that I mention here in the description in terms of what I would be looking for or I would be crafting. So kind of the old way that we did these videos. And yes, I will have another video at the end of the year like I did last year covering all the best season weapons to get across all seasons. As for the title of the video, look, it's not like every single gun from this season is bad, but people really only consider guns to be good if they're on par or better than what people consider to be the best legendary guns in the game, which I have covered in a previous video and is mainly what we're going to be comparing these guns to. If you haven't seen that video, it'll be linked in the description. For the Omega grinders out there just wanting to know what I think the guns to chase are for the season, number 1, to me, Cold Comfort from Ghosts of the Deep. Priority number 1 there, Apex Predator as a backup from Last Wish. Techian Force, also from Last Wish, and New Pacific Epitaph from Ghosts of the Deep. Priority is number 2 and 3 for me. Braytech Osprey from Nightfall is maybe I'll get one. And Loaded Question is I'll get one and probably throw it in the vault. And that's pretty much it for me. So, turns out lawyers are pretty expensive. And if we're going to win our defamation case against Jez, we're going to need some more help. So, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Factor. Factor is a meal delivery service that delivers fresh, not frozen meals straight to your doorstep. As someone who really needs to eat more food, Factor is a great way to ensure that I actually eat food more than once per day instead of just living off of pure willpower and peanut butter crackers. I don't need to worry about going to the grocery store or spending a bunch of time cooking food after a really long day of definitely not playing video games. I could just grab a meal, heat it up, and eat. There are a bunch of different options to choose from as well. You got Calorie Smart for the calorie-conscious eater. You got Protein Plus for the people looking for gains, which I should probably be looking for as I resemble that of an infant tree branch. They even have vegan options too if that's more your thing. If you want to amp things up with extra add-ons, Factor has that as well, like breakfast stuff, another thing that I really should be eating. So if you'd like to make mealtime easier and also would like to help me fight against Jez's defamation case, head on over to factor75.com/Datto50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. That's factor75.com/Datto50 for 50% off your first Factor box. Thank you very much to Factor for sponsoring this video. All right, let's start with Season 21 weapons, the deep weapons. So far, the only weapon that I feel has been receiving any sort of hype is Rapacious Appetite, the 750 RPM Stasis SMG. Prolonged Engagement can get some good rolls, but is a Vanguard weapon, so it's rarer to find those good rolls. Blood Feud from Season 18 can also get some decent rolls. Rapacious can get Frenzy and Headstone, but those are personally the only things that I'm interested in for PvE. It feels like this will perform better as a PvP weapon with it getting target lock. If you have a Stasis SMG you like already, I don't think this is urgent for PvE purposes, but for non-immortal havers, this could be your ticket in to that PvP side of things. I think the Strand Shotgun is getting the next amount of hype until its return, 140 RPM. Lots of interesting perk combos here, but I will recommend getting the pattern because it's the first of its kind. Any first of its kind weapon, I'm always going to suggest getting just to have the pattern. That being said, the Pulse and the Sword are 2 guns that are also first of their kinds that I personally have no interest in at this time. The Pulse can roll with some decent stuff for both PvE and PvP. For me, this is mainly a case of I already have good stuff, so I don't really care that much about the Pulse. And the sword is a sword. There's not a lot really going on in sword world for the average player. Sword specialists might have more to say, but I personally do not. I think you should be using circular logic, the machine gun from Terminal Overload, while machine guns continue to be ridiculous if you need strength. The sword can get some decent rolls as well, but nothing that I'm going crazy about, although again, feel free to check the description for my recommendations. The Sniper, a distant pull, has two rivals, Thoughtless from Season 16 and Iru Kanji, which is a world drop, but Iru is the true rival because it's also a 140 RPM sniper. I believe that Iru can get the better roll in 4th Time's the Charm and Focus Fury or Firing Line, but that is completely random to get, although the Gunsmith did sell this roll in the past, and I know that because I bought it. So if you find this god roll, then cool. But if not, Distant Pull is gonna be on backup, although none of this matters anyway if snipers don't enter the PvE meta, which I don't really feel like they have. Leaves us with Targeted Redaction, which can get some okay rolls, but nothing I would really consider out of this world, especially with the state that hand cannons are in for PvE, and especially because Bungie nerfed any 2-tap potential this thing had, with people getting just absolutely tortured in trials as a result. 120 RPM hand cannons have also never really been super meta pretty much ever in PvE, but that could change, as Bungie recently announced some more substantial hand cannon buffs, although the exact date for these buffs is unknown right now. I don't even plan on thinking about this weapon until the buffs come in, and then after that, we'll see. My focus this season would be Rapacious, and until its return, and then all other guns in whatever order I get them in. Weapons this season are the slightest bit more difficult to get in red border form compared to last season, but if you're a regular grinder of the game, this is probably going to be a non-factor. These are not super difficult patterns to get. All that being said, if you're a regular player of the game, I would always encourage you to get as many patterns as possible, as having the option to craft something later is always nice. The priority depends on what kind of player you are. If you're not a big raider, for example, I'd say the SMG takes priority and then maybe the sniper and everything else after that. Snipers still have not really entered the DPS world, but they're the biggest you never know in the game right now for PvE. Next, we have the Reckoning weapons. And I'm gonna be real, none of these weapons, maybe one of them, are standout weapons to me in any significant ways if you are or have been an active player with a good arsenal of weapons already for PvE purposes. Outlast is a solar pulse, 540 RPM. BXR, the BR, is still one of the best pulses in the game. It's a 450 RPM. It's also craftable. So I think the only reason you would pick Outlast for a PvE reason is if you don't have a BXR or even an Ogma PR6, which is a world drop. BXR is also a top PvP pulse rifle in the game. Last Man Standing is an aggressive shotgun, 55 RPM. I think the only reason you need this in PvE is if you're specifically looking for a solar shotgun with 1-2 punch. Otherwise, 1-2 punch shotguns are a dime a dozen in PvE. If you're wanting to do any sort of infinite ammo Discord plays, I would check out the No Backup Plans video for more information on how that works. Bug Out Bag is a 900 RPM SMG like Callus Mini Tool, which is one of the best PvE SMGs in the game. If you don't have a Callus Mini Tool for whatever reason, this is going to be your replacement. It can also roll with Incandescent and arguably a better first column perk in Subsistence or Demolitionist. It also has a bit more natural range than Callus Mini Tool. Do I think you need to rotate off of your level 76 fully enhanced Callus Mini Tool for this gun? No, I don't. But this is a good opportunity to get in on the Solar SMG train if you don't have one. Just In Case is a sword that can roll with Incandescent. If that's your thing, then cool. Otherwise, it is yet another sword in a list of swords to me. The legendary Spare Rations is back. Now, based purely on the news that hand cannons are getting yet another buff, like I mentioned, especially against majors, I would say that you should maybe have a solid hand cannon on standby. This does roll with kinetic tremors, which is going to turn some heads for endgame content. I'd probably go rapid hit or subsistence for PvE stuff. This is a gun where I'd maybe get a decent roll on one and then throw it into the vault for a little while until that hand cannon buff comes around, and then play around with it again. But at the moment, am I really in a hurry? Not really. I have a great Fate Bringer that will work just fine if I don't get a spare rations, but I am going to try to scoop one and see if I like tremors for endgame. But you are probably going to need to pry the Quicksilver Storm from my cold, dead hands first. Finally, we have Soul Survivor, a sniper. Pretty typical sniper affair here when it comes to perks, Focus Fury, and Firing Line both available. If you want to get a good one to store in the vault for more sniper PvE coping, then feel free. I imagine a lot of people already have these kind of snipers in their vaults, just collecting dust. I'm not in a hurry to break out snipers with how good rockets still are. Moving to dungeon weapons now, these are mostly good in my book and is where I will be focusing my effort this season. If you don't own the dungeon pass, then just move along. If you do own the dungeon pass, I think New Pacific Epitaph is definitely a gun to go grind out. Stasis wave frame, first of its kind. Wave frames are still incredible, so no issues there. You no longer need to have your primary weapon slot dominated by a Riptide. You got Demo, Lead from Gold. Even Unrelenting is good here since it's a wave frame and it'll catch a lot of enemies. You got Kill Clip, Adrenaline Junkie. I've really enjoyed Collective Action on my Arc Warlock since you can make a bajillion Ionic Traces. Wave frames are still incredibly strong. I would highly recommend farming one of these out. Greasy Luck is a glaive. I am not a glaive expert. I don't think the average player uses them at all, but I know that they can be good in the right hands. People seem to be scooping Incandescent on this thing, which just doesn't really feel like a glaive move to me, though. I would consult your local glaive expert for this one, but it's also just something I don't imagine a lot of people are going to care about. No Survivors is a 750 RPM solar SMG. I would scoop this up if you don't like your 900 RPM options, as this can also roll with Incandescent, although your reload perks are a little lacking unless you like Surplus and also not using any abilities. PvPers are going to be a bit more interested in this gun thanks to Rangefinder and Target Lock, aka the Immortal roll, but in the energy slot instead of kinetic. And finally, Cold Comfort, it's the rocket now. Envious Assassin to stack more rockets in the chamber, plus the Origin trait on top of that, plus Bait and Switch for even more damage. Explosive Light is a nice second place, but I think you want Bait and Switch. If there is a weapon to go grind this season, if there is some sort of actual potentially meta-shifting weapon from this season, it's this one. And it doesn't really shift the meta because it's still a rocket, technically. You know what I mean. Raid teams are going to want this thing if rockets stay the same as they are right now. In terms of Nightfall, new to the party is Braytech Osprey and Loaded Question. Braytech Osprey is a legendary void rocket, something we don't actually see that often. If you have a Clown Cartridge Royal Entry from forever ago when I recommended it and just can't be bothered to go get a Braytech, I wouldn't blame you at all. Braytech too can roll with Envious Assassin, but also has field prep or auto-loading depending on your needs. You got Lasting Impression too, that's probably the move, although Frenzy is a nice safe play and has that reload speed boost too. Golden Tricorn is really gonna require a specific setup to work, probably not worth it. I am gonna go for one of these, but just to have a different Void Rocket in case I like it more than Royal Entry. Loaded Question is back, and yes, it is a high impact fusion. I feel like a lot of people thought it wasn't. It is. It's a high impact. It can roll with either Reservoir Burst or Controlled Burst with auto-loading or Overflow in the first column. Controlled Burst is the new perk for fusions. It's the perk now. But I know that people aren't in love with high-impact fusions. I think a lot of people are going to prefer Techie and Force from Last Wish because of the charge speed and because it can also get Controlled Burst. But if you like high impacts, then this is going to be a nice addition to your kit. And if you can't get Techie and Force, well, there's no other Controlled Burst fusions in the game as of Season 21, and you might want a Loaded Question for that perk specifically. That, or you're just going to have to wait until more fusions get this perk. Trials-wise, I feel like all I've heard about the glaive is that it's just kind of whatever, so I'm not really going to dwell on it too much. Plus, again, it's a glaive, average player, not really using glaives. Messenger is back and can roll with kinetic tremors, which is going to entice some people, but this is not a weapon I'm in a super big hurry to add to my kit right now. We also have Pressurized Precision, the Strand Fusion Rifle, which I'm only interested in because it's the first one of its kind. But outside of Hatchling, I'm not really vibing too hard with this for PvE. I think I'd still rather use a Stasis Fusion like Riptide, or a new Pacific Epitaph, unless there was some sort of damage bonus or heavy incentive to use a strand weapon. Threadlings are getting a buff in the future though, so maybe Hatchling becomes a more valuable perk in high-end content, who knows? I believe that is every new Season 21 weapon. Again, I will be devoting time to getting a good Cold Comfort and new Pacific Epitaph from Ghosts of the Deep. Most of all, I will be making sure I get all the patterns that are available that I can get. And then I'm not really going to be pursuing much else, as I already have a lot of good weapons. If you're in the same position as me, active player, lots of patterns, I think you can pretty much follow suit. If you're a newer player, then you definitely have some guns to go chase down, and you should check the description for what I think the god rolls are. But if you don't own the Dungeon Pass, I don't really feel like there are a ton of absolute game-breaking, meta-breaking, banger weapons this season. It's kind of just everything's okay. We'll revisit the top guns of the year in Season 23, but for now, keep grinding out those patterns. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.